Tonight, 60 arrested, 58 remanded as government assures of more security deployment in parts of Volta region to neutralize insurgent attacks as NDC members of parliament pull out of high-level meeting over the Volta secessionist crisis.
Continuous dialogue and collaboration between the government and our chiefs and also with the security forces are crucial in the fight ahead. Enough men and women boots on the ground to deal with the threats as have been estimated. No decision has been made about a curfew now.
Tonight we have details from a higher level meeting in the Volta region as Volta regional minister dissociates himself from the separatist groups.
Those people who were shown on G1 TV, would like to know them and would like the station to come out with the names of the people and where they are so that we meet them in court. Because this is defamation of somebody's character and a reputation that have taken years to build cannot just be destroyed by criminals.
Also tonight, prime suspect in murder of University of Ghana law professor leads police investigators to the crime scene to retrieve what is suspected to be the murder weapon.
There were some cameras which might have captured him, and so he dumped it in the septic tank. So our officers are going there to see whether they will be able to retrieve it.
This is Top Story with Evans Mensah.
And Top Story is always brought to you by Gas and Cement, the nation builder. Vodafone the future is exciting ready. We are learning tonight that 60 people have so far been arrested in the Volta region for the alleged involvement in a series of violent attacks, part of an orchestrated push to break away from Ghana. Out of them, 54 are currently in custody. A high-level meeting by government and the Volta Regional House of Chiefs ended with an assurance of more security deployment in the region and a manhunt for all persons involved in the destruction of property by the secessionist groups. Also tonight, a major development. We are learning more about why the NDC members of parliament who had earlier pledged to be part of this particular meeting today pulled out just as the meeting was about to begin. We're learning more why that happened as this has thrown this cooperation wide open. More on this very shortly. The Volta Regional House of Chiefs had expressed concerns about government's failure to neutralize further attacks after the National Security Minister failed to attend the meeting called by the chiefs earlier this week. But after the meeting, after meeting them today, Deputy Information Minister Pius Hajide said the concerns of the chiefs were addressed. He also described the separatist groups as criminals and dismissed calls for the imposition of a curfew.
Deployments have so far been made to Japan, Hohoi, Aplau, Nkonya Alavanyo, Bando, Oti, in Pasa in the Oti region, and Ketekachi also in the Oti region. Let us recall that there have already been deployments in Pasa, Ketekachi, and in Konya Alavanyo, but those have been reviewed to deal with the current threat. So far, 60 suspected criminals have been arrested and 54 have been remanded. The others are being processed for court. It is worthy of note, ladies and gentlemen, that the Volta Regional House of Chiefs once again denounced the criminal activities that were reported recently, i.e. the blocking of roads, burning of tires, and attack on some police stations, 2 police stations in fact. The regional house was unanimous in its condemnation and once again committed itself as custodians of the land to a one united and prosperous Ghana made up of the 16 regions, and the House and the delegation also agreed that continuous dialogue and collaboration between the government and our chiefs and also with the security forces are crucial in the fight ahead. Enough men and women, boots on the ground to deal with the threats as they happen. Every option is under consideration. Is there a decision made for a curfew?
I want to go live now to the voter registering. My colleague MFA Pau was there all day for us following this important high-level meeting. MFA, did you get a sense that those who participated in this stakeholder engagement left happy?
Well, in the words of the acting Volta Regional House of Chiefs President, Tobite Prehodo IV, there was tremendous progress that was made out of this meeting, he says. A number of other issues came up, but largely it was about the security situation in the Volta region because of the acts of these Volta secessionists, and then also issues coming up leading to election 2020. Well, I would walk you through a number of people who were in this particular meeting. On the government side, we had the Defense Minister, Dominic Nitiwo, the Interior Minister, Ambrose Derry. We had the head of the National Security, Kandapa. We had the Minister of Regional Reorganization and Development, Dan Kwekubochi. We had the Volta Regional Minister himself, Archibald Lecha. We had a number of them, Peter Amewu joining at some point also, the Energy Minister. So you get a sense that this is a meeting that government takes seriously. We also had Pius Hajide, the Deputy Information Minister, also joining that part. On the other side also, we had over 50 representatives from the various traditional groups in the Volta region. The Paramount Chief, we had the Awon Mafia of Yangon State, we had, of course, Togbe Sri, we had the President, the National President of the National House of Chiefs, Togbe Aspede Agbugbo Mafia. We also had the acting Regional House of Chiefs President, Togbe Tefrehodo. And in our interaction with them, they tell us that this is tremendous progress that has been made, and they've received assurances from government that going forward, the Volta region should be assured that this situation is under control. Questions about how they did not pick intelligence on this particular issue still came up in the meeting. But they tell me that they are satisfied with the reasons given by government as to how come they did not pick information on how flags were hoisted, even at the Regional Coordinating Council, how the billboards were mounted, how heaps of sand were put in the middle of the road into the Volta region. But they tell me that going into the elections, they are sure that government says the situation is under control and they would not see this situation recur. What we saw last week exactly on Friday, at the Abutia Junction at Joapon, and then also at Sege, and then also on Monday dawn, what we saw at the STC yard. So you see that military deployment, police deployment has been put in various parts of the country. You've heard from Pius Hajide mention a number of areas in the Volta region that there have been deployment. I have seen a number of checkpoints getting into the Volta region, checkpoints exactly at the Abutia Junction where you have heavy military and police presence. In some cases, you see prison services, Ghana National Fire Service, immigration officials providing the security that is needed. But for some, it remains to be seen whether, in fact, this is a situation that government has under control, that it will not recur like we've seen in recent cases, they say.
But conspicuously missing today was the minority group, the members of parliament in the Volta region. Almost entirely all the constituencies there made up of that particular caucus. They had assured after meeting the Volta regional minister earlier this week that they will be part of this particular meeting, but it didn't turn out so. Have they explained exactly why they pulled out?
Absolutely, Evan. So coming in today into this meeting, we got the sense that there was going to be two separate meetings. One with the Volta Regional House of Chiefs meeting the security chiefs and government delegation. Then after that, the minority or the caucus or the Volta Parliamentary Caucus would then also have their session with the Volta Regional Minister and, of course, the government delegation, the security chiefs. We got there, and while the Volta Regional House of Chiefs meeting was underway, I I met the parliamentary caucus. We had the chairman of the Volta parliamentary caucus, Mr. Bejra. We had Kujetua Blakwa. We had Akwame Agbuja. A number of them hanging around at the meeting, waiting for the second session. Then I got to interact with them, and then I was told that they've communicated to the Volta regional minister that meeting cannot come off because they have communicated from the party that cannot happen because there's a task force, because they said that this issue has taken a national security dimension, is at the national level and not at the regional level anymore. So they would rather engage a task force put together by the party, which is made up of the former National Security Coordinator, Bevlo Latte. We have the NDC National Chairman, Ofusu Ampofo, and then, of course, some members from the Parliamentary Caucus put together by the party with the endorsement of their flag bearer, John Dramani Mahama. So they would rather have the security chiefs engage that task force and not just the parliamentary caucus in the region. So they've had to withdraw from that meeting that was supposed to happen. But we've been interacting with Okujetua Blakwa, who speaks for the parliamentary caucus, and this is what he had to say.
Have come to convey a change in arrangement. We have communicated to the Honorable Regional Minister that since a national team has been set up, it's important that we all acknowledge that this is a national threat. It's not just a Volta region issue. And if you look at the original Western Togoland map, it involves multiple regions. And we do know that these secessionists have been to other regions, have been to see other chiefs, and they are determined to, as it were, foment trouble in many other parts of our country. So the national leadership of our party has decided that this matter should be discussed at the national level. So you have the national chairman in that committee. We have our former national security coordinator, Lieutenant Colonel Bevlolate, in that committee. We have the former Speaker of Parliament, Doa Jaho. We have Asasi Jima and other national security couples who have considerable expertise in these matters, together with the national party leadership. And this has the blessing of our flag bearer and leader of the party, His Excellency John Dramani Mahama. So that is the new arrangement which we have communicated to the regional minister. We had earlier informed the national security minister, though we were yet to get his response before we had to come today to convey this new arrangement, that we will now discuss this matter at the national level. It should not be treated as just a Volta region matter.
Well, we'll shortly get some additional clarity from the chair of the Volta caucus of the NDC shortly. But MFA, tell me, I mean, Dr. Archibald Lecha himself, the Volta regional minister, who also happens to be the Volta regional chair of the Security Council, has been accused variously as being somehow part of the group seeking to break away. He's been responding to that quite vehemently today.
Well, and this is not an allegation he's taking lightly at all. He's even indicated that this is an issue that he would take advice from his lawyers on to take up anyone that, puts out that allegation. So this was after the security meeting. There was an opportunity to brief the press on progress made where the announcement was made about the arrest and all. And he mentions that he's been working in the Volta region for up to 34 years now. And so if the people know him, that will not be an issue. If he knows the people, it may not be an issue. But whether he knows what exactly these people are engaged in at night, it would be unfair for anyone to say that he is funding them or knows them because they are secessionists. And he responded to that vehemently, like you said, in that press conference. It's a good time to just allow him to make that point.
It's not surprise anybody if people say they know me, because they will know me. But whether or not I know them as criminals, that is something that you will not know. Even you see people, they come to your hospital, they are friends, they come to the shop, they come to the hotel. Oh, doctor, you know them. But you don't know what they do at night. You don't know what they do in secrecy. You will not know. So if they claim they know me, fine. If they claim I know them, fine. But I don't know I wouldn't know the criminal activity they are engaged in. So, as far as Wasi Chokolan is concerned, it was on 6 March 2017, a few days after we took office, the MPP took office, Nana Addo Dankwa Akufo-Addo took office, and that was our first independence parade. And they showed up. So they showed up and were arrested. So I've had to deal with them, together with RESEC and security agencies. We've had to dealing with these people since March 2017. How come it is only now that they claim they know me or I know them, or I sponsor them or I'm their financier? So they didn't know from 2017. It's unfortunate, but I am also ready to take action against anybody who comes out openly to accuse me of that. So those people who were shown on G1 TV, would like to know them, and would like the station to come out with the names of the people and where they are, so that I meet them in court. Because this is defamation of somebody's character, and a reputation that I've taken years to build cannot just be destroyed by criminals. And I also don't understand the TV station, because things like this should not even be permitted on our radio stations or TV stations. So for a TV station to air a production with the people's backs to the camera and making claims that could not be substantiated, and to come out with it's also unfortunate. And appropriate action will be taken by my lawyer.
So that is the Volta regional minister that responding to the allegations against him. MFA Paul, thank you very much. Let's bring in now the chairman of the Volta caucus of the NDC, Mr. Emmanuel Beja. Mr. Beja, thank you for your time here on Top Story.
Thank you very much, Evans, and good evening to the journalists.
So explain to me, I mean, what's the point of the task force you've set up, the National NDC Task Force, when this is a national security matter that can only be legitimately dealt with by the state security forces?
Yeah, Evans, you all know that this issue has been lingering for some time now, and the NDC party, is also worried. When the issue happened on Friday, we quickly convey a meeting with our national chairman and the flag bearer of the party, together with the our security committee of the party, to discuss it, to find ways and solutions that we can all help this country to resolve the issue. At that meeting, we all decided that we should put a team together to meet the national security coordinator as well as the minister in charge of national security. And so, with the blessing of the flag bearer, we put a team together. As my colleague Sani Okujejo has mentioned, we put this team together and we try as much as possible to get in touch with the minister in charge of national security so that we can look at it as a national issue, not only as a regional issue. Then also at that meeting, we decided that as a caucus, that's the regional caucus, we also meet with the regional minister to brief us as to what exactly is happening in the region and the way forward, so that whatever decision we take, both at the national level and at the regional level, we all have common understanding to work with. So we had a meeting with the regional minister on Wednesday. At that meeting, he made it known to us that the minister in charge of national security and other ministers will be with him or will come to the region to meet the RECSEC as well as the chiefs. So we said, well, if that's the case, he can convey our, desire of meeting him. And so he spoke to him, when he spoke to him, and they all agreed that, well, when they come, they'll meet us. Reporting back to Accra, that's the national headquarters, we were made to understand that the minister in charge of national security has not responded or has not even reported or responded back to our calls to meet him. And therefore, we, the regional caucus, since he does not respect the call that we place, the understanding that we should have this conversation at the national level, he doesn't seem to understand, he doesn't seem to agree, he doesn't seem to respect that or reciprocate that gesture that we made. There was no need for us meeting him at the regional level.
So clarify this. So this was, you had asked that let's meet at the national level because he has not responded. Is that why the government party then decided let's form our own committee?
Yes, of course. If somebody has extended a hand of fellowship to you and you have not responded back, there was no need for you to continue pursuing the person.
I mean, but I wonder. But the National Security Minister was heading to the Volta region already, and you would have had a face-to-face with him, and at least tell him to the face.
He doesn't want to meet us at the national level.
When you say national level, you can still have a meeting in the Volta region, and we still have a national character.
There was nothing wrong with the minister in charge of national security to respond to our call by saying that, well, I want to meet this team that is put up at the national level. There was nothing wrong with him telling us that let's meet in the Volta region. We were prepared to meet him anywhere in Ghana. When we called him on Sunday, he was in Kumasi at that time. And the intention was that when he returned, he would meet with us. And so if he doesn't want to meet us, fine.
Did you write formally to him about this position?
The national chairman is in charge of this. He is the chairman of the task force or the committee that has been put up, and I'm sure he has done the right thing. I
mean, but Mr. Badger, the question is, you both, in fact, after the meeting with the regional minister, you had one agenda. That agenda was simply how to fix the problem. You believe address it at the national level. Government says, let's have a meeting in the Volta region, let's discuss how to resolve this. Don't you rather go to that meeting and say, well, this is our position on how to resolve this, and then that meeting then discusses this thoroughly on the best approach forward, than to say, I won't go because you have not responded to me? Isn't the issues bigger than that?
In the first place, there was no invitation. They did not extend an invitation to us to meet at the regional level. I
mean, is that true? Because I remember when you came out of the meeting with the regional minister, I heard the Kujo Tablakwa say that there's a meeting that you've settled for Friday where everybody was going to be part, and you were going to be part of that meeting.
We requested for him that we've been trying as much as possible to meet with the minister in charge of national security in Accra. Then he responded. He said, well, he will be coming to the region on Wednesday, on Thursday. That was yesterday. So he quickly called, and the minister said, no, he will not be able to come yesterday, but he will come today. So if we are still in the region, then he will meet with us. So it wasn't on their agenda to meet us. We requested, that we wanted to meet him. And after we requested, we also liaised with our national head office to find out whether it is proper for us as a caucus to meet. Now, the caucus had the blessing of the national team to meet the regional minister. As to the national level, they said, we want to meet him at the national. If you want to meet us in the Volta region, there was nothing wrong. He did not extend invitation to us to meet him in the Volta region at that level.
Fundamentally, Mr. Bedra, this is about your people, the safety and security of the people that you represent. I mean, isn't that all you should be caring about right now, other than, I mean, whether they responded to you or didn't respond to you, whether it's national or it's local? Simple, you want your people to be safe. And the safety and security of your people is the responsibility of the state.
Even that is where all of us, Ghanaians, are making a big mistake. This is not a Volta region issue. It is a criminal issue against the state Ghana. When we decide to look at it from just the Volta region perspective, then we're missing the mark. This is a whole bunch of people who want to, create mayhem and move away. And we all know this is a treasonous thing. It is not about Volta region. It might happen only in the Volta region, but it is not about Volta region. It is about state Ghana. And that is all we want people to understand. So it's not about our people, Evans.
Okay, I mean, so it's about Ghana, true. But it's a question of, now it's become a question of approaches. Your NDC's approach is, let's deal with it at the national level. I mean, even that, you have to define that. I mean, you say because the Western Togoland issue comes from the north all the way stretches to down, it is bigger than Volta region. We'll deal with it on that scale. Stay on the line for me. I want to bring in the Deputy Information Minister who was at the briefing today, in fact, addressed the media thereafter, Pius Hajide. Mr. Hajide, I'm grateful for your time here on Top Story.
Yeah, Evans, thank you for having me.
I mean, please, so tell me, you've heard the position that the NDC is expressing tonight. Their members of parliament say they can't be part of your meetings because they had asked that you treat this as a national issue and not a voter regional issue. They've they wrote or informed the National Security Minister of this position, and they've been ignored, and so they are not going to be part of at least the conversations with you going forward until that is done. What's your reaction? What is the government reaction to this?
Well, I'm not too sure if it is fair to invite us to react to the NDC. I think that as a corporate organization, they are free to decide. I can report to you that government's position on this matter is that yes, indeed, this is a crime against the state of Ghana. We are not looking at it as a Volta regional issue. It's a matter of national.
Hello, Mr. Ajide.
Any interested person or group that will want to also engage with us with a view to stamping out criminality from our body policy and to ensure the maintenance of law and order and to secure the protection of life and property. And we have actually even advised anybody or group of persons who believe that they have information and, if you may, even expertise that can assist the Republic of Ghana. The state security apparatus is available and willing to engage with them. And even at the government level, the various sector ministers responsible for national security, for interior, for defense, and so on, and even the office of the Volta Regional Coordinating Council, the regional minister's office, is open to listen to anybody, and that is the spirit that the government has been operating within. Okay,
so going for, just for clarity, the government is and the government agents as ministers, etc., are willing, open to meet with the NDC task force on this matter.
They are willing to meet with anybody, and for me, an introduction of NDC and groupings has the tendency to, if you may, obfuscate the conversation and also maybe give it a certain political coloration that may be undesirable. If anybody or any group of persons believe that they have information that can be useful, like I said, both the security services and even individual officers of state are more than willing to engage them. And you are aware that, for instance, today, a government delegation engaged with and interacted with the Volta Regional House of Chiefs. Yeah,
we are aware of that. I mean, very quickly, the position of the NDC, and by the way, there's no other way to describe it. They are members of parliament representing the NDC. Their party said, this is our position on the matter, and you need them. I'm sure you admit that, because they are members of parliament, represents all the people there in their constituencies. And so it is party, but you still have to engage.
So then the other political parties will also come and say, we have a specialized group, we want to be engaged and all. I'm saying that, well, I mean, I'm not too sure that the governance construct that we have in this country has to be encouraged to operate in that vein. There are institutions of state that we have all empowered, and we are actually spending monies on to do this. And they are encouraging us to make information available to them. This is not about our individual egos or our various groups and all of that. It is about the national security, and so we must not make razzmatazz or make an event of sharing of information that can be relevant to the resolution of crime. Should we make an event of it, or should we turn it into razzmatazz?
And very finally, the position of the NDC is a simple one. Government shouldn't treat this as a Volta regional issue. I mean, and they're right, because if you really look at the challenge, it is a Western Togoland issue, and it stretches all the way from the north down to the Volta region, and that if you focus too much heavily to the neglect of the other areas, you probably wake up one day and realize that the crisis has spread to the other parts of the country. The NDC says treat it now as a national issue and don't wait for that to escalate.
Evans, I believe that I said that I didn't even need to listen to the NDC, and I didn't listen to them. I've been in a meeting all day. When you spoke to me, even now, what I said was that it is government's view that this is a matter that borders on our national cohesion, our national unity, and we are talking about the state of Ghana. So we are looking at it as a crime against the state. And so we are not looking at it as a crime against one region or a crime or a matter that is exclusive to one region or one tribe or one ethnicity. No, that cannot be the attitude and approach of the administration, and that is not. We are looking at this as a breach of our national laws, and so it is the national laws that must apply, and they must apply in the national nature within which with which they were crafted.
Okay.
And so it means that the NDC is merely repeating and echoing the position of the state. We are saying that if they do so realize, then and they do feel that they have relevant information that can assist, then we don't have to make an event and a ceremony and the razzmatazz of an occasion to share that information.
Okay.
Anybody can just walk to any of the security services or any of the ministers of state that are involved in this matter and share whatever information that they may have. And the state of Ghana will appreciate and be grateful.
Okay, Mr. Hajide, thank you very much for your time. Mr. Bedrasso, you had 2 points there. He says government agrees that we should treat this as national, so that your first fundamental point, you are in agreement, at least government is in agreement with you. And secondly, he says government agents are open to engage. Quick reaction to that.
Thank you very much, Evans. You heard my brother Hajide very well. And this is the stand the government has taken. I've said that we'll try as much as possible to get in touch with the National Security Minister since last Sunday. And all this, all this desire to meet him has not yielded any result. And it has been confirmed by Hajide right now that their doors are open to anybody at all to come to the ministry to meet them. It means that they are not even considering our request to meet them. So it means we are not needed in the equation. Even if we are really needed and we are taken as a serious alternative to this government, or we have something to offer and we have decided to meet with you, we would have, and don't forget, the former National Security Coordinator, Kenneth Bavulati, has worked as a security expert. And if we are putting ourselves together to meet with you, and you are telling us that anytime at all, anybody at all can come to any of the ministry to bring, it shows the level of this government who doesn't want to meet. They think they can handle the issue by themselves. That's fine. We are waiting it, and they responded to our call. We are there.
I'm grateful. That is Emmanuel Bajra, is the chairman of the NDC Volta Regional Caucus. Also, he had the Deputy Information Minister. Another crime-related story we are following for you tonight is the emerging fresh details from the murder of the University of Ghana law professor Yao Bennett. Today, the CID, they've been briefing the press. We've heard today that the prime suspect in the case have changed his confession by naming another person rather as his sole helper. Director General of the CID, COP Ken Isaac Yeboah, has been briefing the press.
When we visited the crime scene, we found out that his 2 phones were taken, then CPU was also taken from his writing table, and then a sum of 450 Ghana cedis, which was in his wallet, was also taken. And I must say that the crime suspect has admitted taking the 450 cedis from the wallet. He has also admitted taking the CPU, which, according to him, he dumped it in septic tank when he was leaving because he was entertaining fears that maybe there were some cameras which might have captured him, and so he dumped it in the septic tank. So our officers are going there to see whether they will be able to retrieve it.
Head of our security desk is in the studio with me on this unfolding story. What are some of the key highlights, Gifty?
So, Evans, some of the key highlights are that, first of all, the prime suspect has changed his confession according to the CID. Secondly, he's named another suspect with whom he claims he killed Professor Bene. And thirdly, the motive, according to the police, as they've established now, was to rob, and that Professor Bene was killed accidentally whilst he was resisting. He said, as you heard him, 2 mobile phones were taken in a CPU without the computer monitor itself, but the CPU alone was taken. He was hit in the head, according to the fresh details coming up, that he was hit in the head with an iron rod by the prime suspect and his accomplice, and then the CPU was then dumped. Now, what the police did today, according to them, was to go to revisit the crime scene and to find these 2 key things: the iron rod, which is the alleged murder weapon, and then the CPU that they claim he took, along with the 2 mobile phones owned by Professor Bene. So these are the highlights that we got today. Also, the detail we had today that there have been some additional details on the suspect's confession. Have we gathered from the police? So these are the additional details. What happened is that at the moment that the professor's body was found, they went there, they arrested 4 domestic workers who worked with him there. They arrested them, but nothing incriminating was found against 3 of them. So then the 3 were let go. But one person, who is now the prime suspect, was kept. He then confesses to his involvement in killing Professor Bene, and then named 3 others. Those 3 others were picked up. One of them were not picked up. One of them was picked up, but 2 are on the run, and the police are still looking for them. But then what has happened now is that he's named another person, indicating that he killed Professor Bene with this particular person. What it means is that the police will have to do further investigations to find out whether the 3 others that were picked up have to be cleared, or whether or not they are still linked to this murder, and to find what they claim is the murder weapon, which is an iron rod, and a CPU, which they claim he took. Has he led them there already today? That's what the police told us today. This morning, they said the information came just about that morning when we were about to do the press conference, and so the investigators were leading. The prime suspect was leading the investigators to the crime scene again to find the murder weapon and then to find the CPU. Questions of motive also have come up tonight, and we've been digging into that. Well, the question about motive is that the police are telling us right now that the motive was to rob. But then if you look at the facts of the matter, if the motive is to rob, I asked, and this is a question I asked the Director General of the CID, why would someone go to a mansion and take just a CPU and also take 2 mobile phones plus 450 CDs in a mansion? So he answered and said that the guy has confessed to taking the 450 CPU because he thought there will be information on that will link him to the murder scene. But information available to us, Evans, based from our sources and from our own investigation, is that Professor Bene was writing a book. What we know is that, or what we understand is that this book contains some damning information about some individuals, and that the expectation is that these individuals perhaps could have been the one after a component as a CPU of a computer. I mean, if you look at it that way, it makes sense. But then this is a criminal investigation, so we need to rely solely on what the information... Because you put that to the police today. What did they say? They told us that they know about the book. And the CID, the Director General of the CID, we can hear him on the book bit. Right, so essentially he says they know about the book. They actually have a copy of the book, he says. But he says whether or not it is linked is something they'll have to look into.
On the book, yes, we during our investigation, we heard that he was writing a book, and we've had access to a copy of the book. But as to the motive, whether it has got something to do with his death or the killing or the murder of the professor, for now we have not yet established that, and so I wouldn't like to, go into that area. Well, fascinating details tonight. You can find more on our website, myjoyonline.com, and you had the COP Ken Isaac-Yeboah, who is the Director General of the CID. Well, it's now time for Ghana Connect.